Hey, what's up, guys and gals? This is Rauta, and welcome to Rauta's Random Ramblings, or like we like to call it, opinion video. This one is all about the post-COVID gigs, festivals, events, kind of a rambling. And the obvious question here on the table is, what is going on? And should we go or should we attend those festivals and gigs and stuff like that? Now that the world is once again opening after 2 years of pandemics and all that shit. No, I don't want to hear any of that nonsensical, conspiracy theory talk. I don't really care whether or not you personally believe in pandemic or COVID. The fact is, 2 years has been the world has been a very, very different place, and not too many fests and gigs took place, and the world was more or less shut down on those terms. And now things are finally, luckily, quite different. Now, personally, I've been to a couple of bigger festivals already this year, but I still hear people saying like, "Hey, it's my time for my first real metal gig or first festival since 2019." So it still seems people are slowly reacting to this new world where events and festivals are way more possible than what it was before. Now, you might wonder why I'm making a topic of such an obvious thing like, "Hey, go to festivals. It's possible now." But it's not that simple, really. And there are a couple of things which I want to address with this video. And the first is, so what should we really think about it now that the world is open and festivals and events and all kinds of random gigs are happening? Now, there are a couple of question marks which are worth pondering. First of all, now that these events are taking place, it's not so much guaranteed that they're actually happening. First of all, here in Finland, I noticed a couple of festivals still canceling for this year. Now, the reason is the tickets, the pre-sold ones, are not selling as quickly or as in big amounts as they were supposed to. And as such, the companies are once again making sure that they don't make big losses with them. So instead of, just trying to get those things done and events happening, they are instead either postponing or canceling the event in the first place. And that is a reaction to the very fact that people are not actually buying tickets. Now, you might wonder why people are not doing that. Now, there is also another set of questions. Let's get into that in a bit. The other thing is, of course, the overflow of events. Now that everybody is pretty, ready to have their own festivals and gigs, it almost seems like there's so much competition that nothing like this had happened before. It's suddenly like an overflow of events, like you really have a hard time figuring out for which kind of events you have the time and money, which then again creates another set of problem. I mean, past 2 years people have been figuring out which way to use their money in different ways, and now that the world is more open, it's not so given that people are allocating their money to these events or time. Or maybe there's a trust issue which is related to the very point I made just a minute ago. That is, events are finally happening. Why aren't it going? Now, people have trust issues. That's kind of a given. People who bought their tickets for 2020 shows and then saw them postponed to 2021 or even 2022 maybe are a little bit reluctant to go through that shit again. Some of those bands got cancelled even though they were supposed to be the same lineup, but as you know, the world is not exactly the same nowadays as it was like 2 years ago. And the other one is, of course, this trust issue. Will it still even happen now because it had been already postponed for a year or two? And these are questions that nobody knows certain answers. Like, for example, recently when I went to Steelfest, there was a little bit of talk that so many bands have been changed since the original lineup and for various reasons. Now, sometimes the reason might be political ones, sometimes it's related to health things or just to legal regulations and what have you. So it's not so given that things are exactly the same. But obviously without our support, us going to those events or buying tickets or whatever, those events are not going to happen. Now, when you then again take this other problem on the table and see like, okay, so there's plenty of events now and you're figuring out where to go, that creates this kind of a different kind of problem. I mean, once people actually notice that, there are plenty of different gigs and festivals and events happening, it can be hard to choose to which events to go, which ones you actually have money for, which way you are going to prioritize these things. Now, I'm not saying there's an easy answer to that, because there is not. Now, personally, I am kind of I'm able to pick the ones that interest me more. First of all, domestic ones are easy to get into. Doesn't matter where you live, usually that's the case. You don't have to book flights, you don't have to worry about those COVID regulations, which still take place. So it's just easy to maybe travel from one city to another without taking flights and blah, blah, blah. And then you get to the shows, meet some friends, see some gigs, and everything is all good. But when things are happening in other countries, people are still like, okay, we still have these COVID regulations. I mean, I recently checked out some of those because traveling in early June, and it's not so easy necessarily, depending once again where you live, where you're going, and all that stuff. But voting with your wallet is the number one thing you can really do in order to support those events. Holding back, because they still might postpone it, it's just kind of going to make guarantee that these events are being postponed. Now, some events were already postponed to 2023 because of that. Or some events just get cancelled, okay, we're going to refund you. Let's see what the lineup is going to be next year, because people were too cautious to just buy the tickets, waiting for last minute changes and all that stuff, or just seeing what's going to happen, how it's going to fold out and all that stuff. And this creates an interesting thing. Now, obviously, the other things have changed too, and one of them is ticket prices. Now, I don't know where you live and how things might be in your corner of the earth, but here I have seen the kind of prices not exactly skyrocketing, but going up. That once again is a question mark for people who have been hit by, inflation, and who don't necessarily have as much money these days as what things were like in 2 years ago. Now, when prices go up, but you don't get more payment, well, that's a kind of a tricky thing to figure out. I mean, there was a moment when those flights were really cheap. And that was when this COVID thing was kind of opening up and flights were once again possible. But now it seems that the flight tickets and shit like that are, going to be more expensive. Obviously, because a lot of people want to travel, a lot of people want to go to different places, which then again creates another set of problems we were not ready for. So, once again, back to the original topic, how we're going to deal with this COVID thing and how it's going to react to things. I think prices will be going up and down until they finally find some common ground where things will settle down and all that stuff. And that probably is going to be with flights as well. That is probably going to be with the amount of events. Now it may seem that there's a huge amount of events, but it's not like every event is going to survive because of this steep competition. So it's going to be interesting to see how things fold out in, say, coming fall, right after the summer, how things are going to be in next year, or winter or summer, doesn't really matter. But what I would like to see people doing is buying those tickets, going to those festivals, and once again, showing their support and love for these events and bands, and including promoters, organizers, and making these wonderful events happen. Now, like I said, I have been already to Inferno Festival 2022 and Sealfest 2022, and both were fantastic and seemed like a lot of people were having fun and enjoying the shows. And I would like to see that going that way. Nobody's going to say for sure or know for sure how the current Ukrainian war is going to affect things. Will there be another wave or problems with COVID, or will there be some kind of a monkeypox epidemics or whatever? But that kind of emphasizes my point exactly. Now it's time to do the shit, not when you're in your grave or too old or too poor to do that shit. Don't postpone things which are possible now, because they might not be possible in 2 years in the future. Who knows? But that it is what it is. So carpe diem, seize the day and make it happen. Go to festivals and support those bands and events, so we will have more cool stuff in the future as well. What are your thoughts? Do you have any festivals to attend this year? Let me know, and we'll see you more with coming videos coming your way. Take care. This is Rauta. Good night. Goodbye. Bye bye.